The discovery happened 3 days after the alien inspection. Jiwoo was preparing routine charges when her scanner picked up something unusual. Deep underground, the instrument showed a massive crystal formation unlike anything they had seen before. "Do-hyun, you need to see this," Jiwoo called over the radio. Her voice carried a note of excitement mixed with concern. Do-hyun hurried over to her position. The scanner display showed a crystal formation that stretched for kilometers underground. The readings made no sense. The crystals seemed to pulse with their own energy, growing brighter and dimmer in regular patterns. "What am I looking at?" Do-hyun asked. "I'm not sure," Jiwoo admitted. "The scanner says these crystals are incredibly valuable. But look at these energy readings. They're off the charts." Sora joined them, bringing her geological equipment. She ran additional scans and frowned at the results. "These crystals are unstable," she announced. "Very unstable. The energy levels keep changing." Taemin appeared with his chemical analysis kit. The young chemist loved puzzles, and this crystal formation was the biggest puzzle he had ever seen. "Can I get a sample?" he asked. "I want to understand what we're dealing with." "Carefully," Do-hyun warned. "If Sora is right about the instability, we don't want any accidents." The team worked together to extract a small crystal sample. Even that tiny piece made their instruments go crazy. The scanner readings jumped all over the place. The energy detector couldn't get a stable reading. Ben watched from a safe distance, taking notes. As the newest team member, he often served as an extra pair of eyes. "The crystal is glowing," he observed. "It gets brighter when you bring the explosive charges near it." Everyone turned to look. Ben was right. The small crystal sample glowed brighter whenever Jiwoo moved her demolition equipment closer to it. "That's impossible," Taemin said, but he pulled out a small explosive charge anyway. When he brought it within a meter of the crystal, the sample began to pulse rapidly. "It's responding to the chemical composition of the explosives." Sora ran more tests. "This doesn't make sense. Crystals don't normally react to chemical compounds unless they're in direct contact. This one is responding from a distance." Do-hyun made a decision. "We need to contact the alien supervisors. This might be too dangerous for us to handle alone." But when they tried to explain the discovery to Vextal, the crystalline alien dismissed their concerns. "Unstable crystal formations are common," he said over the communication link. "Our science teams have equipment to handle such materials safely. Continue with your primitive methods until we arrive." "He didn't listen to a word we said," Jiwoo complained after ending the call. "When do they ever?" Sora replied. "They think they know everything about crystal mining." Taemin had continued working with the sample while the others talked to the aliens. His experiments were revealing fascinating results. "Look at this," he called to the team. "When I expose the crystal to different explosive compounds, it reacts differently each time." The team gathered around his workstation. Taemin had prepared small samples of various chemical compounds used in mining explosives. Each one caused the crystal to glow with a different color and intensity. "It's like the crystal is trying to communicate," Ben observed. "Different chemicals produce different responses." "Crystals don't communicate," Sora said automatically. But as she watched the glowing sample, she began to wonder if that was really true. Over the next 2 days, the team conducted careful experiments. They discovered that the crystal responded most strongly to the specific explosive compounds they used in their mining operations. Other chemicals produced weaker reactions or no reaction at all. "It's learned our signature," Taemin realized. "The underground formation has been exposed to our explosives for months. It's learned to recognize our specific chemical mixtures." The idea seemed crazy, but the evidence was clear. The crystal formation had somehow adapted to their mining methods. It recognized human explosives and responded to them in ways that made no sense according to conventional science. Jiwoo made another discovery during routine blasting. She had placed charges near the edge of the formation, intending to extract crystals from a safe distance. But when the explosives detonated, something unexpected happened. Instead of shattering like normal crystals, the formation absorbed the explosion. The energy traveled through the crystal structure, growing stronger instead of weaker. The blast that should have cracked a small section instead illuminated the entire underground network. "The explosion made it bigger," Jiwoo reported in amazement. "The energy fed the crystal growth instead of destroying it." Sora confirmed the readings. "The explosion didn't damage the formation. It enhanced it. The crystals used the blast energy to expand their structure." When the alien science team arrived 2 days later, They found the humans standing around looking confused and excited. The Mordani scientist leading the team was not impressed by their reports. Impossible, the silicon being declared. Crystals do not learn. They do not adapt. They follow physical laws, not behavioral patterns. See for yourself, Do-hyun offered. We can demonstrate what we've discovered. The aliens set up their sophisticated scanning equipment. Their instruments were far more advanced than anything the humans possessed. Within minutes, they confirmed what the human team had already discovered. The crystal formation was indeed responding to explosive compounds. This is highly unusual, the HFY scientist admitted. We have never seen crystals behave in this manner. Because you never use explosives, Taemin pointed out. Your species gave up chemical explosives thousands of years ago. You never had the chance to see how crystals might react to them. The alien scientists exchanged glances that somehow conveyed uncertainty, despite their non-human features. Their advanced civilization had indeed abandoned explosive technology long ago, considering it crude and dangerous. We must study this formation, the Mordani announced. Our molecular dissolution techniques will provide safe samples for analysis. Wait, Jiwoo interrupted. What if your methods hurt the crystals? They're clearly alive in some way. Your molecular techniques might kill them. The aliens paused. The concept that crystals might be alive challenged their basic understanding of mineralogy, but the evidence was hard to ignore. Bin raised his hand like a student in class. Can I ask something? Why did your species stop using explosives? Was there a specific reason? The question seemed simple, but it struck at something fundamental. The aliens looked uncomfortable, as if they had never considered the question before. Explosives are primitive, Vextel said finally. Advanced civilizations evolve beyond such crude methods. But what if you evolved past something useful? Bin persisted. What if explosives do things that other methods can't do? The alien science team spent the rest of the day running tests. Their sophisticated equipment confirmed every discovery the humans had made. The crystal formation was indeed responding to explosives in ways that defied conventional understanding. As evening approached, the aliens prepared to leave. They would return with more equipment and more scientists. This discovery would require extensive study. Continue your work, the Mordani told Do-hyun, but be extremely careful. We do not yet understand what these crystals are capable of. After the aliens departed, the human team sat around their evening meal in thoughtful silence. They had stumbled onto something that challenged the galaxy's understanding of mining science. Do you think we're the first to discover this? Sora asked. Maybe, Do-hyun replied. Or maybe other species discovered it long ago and forgot about it when they stopped using explosives. Jiwoo looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. What if there are crystal formations like this all over the galaxy? What if they're all waiting for someone to talk to them with explosives? It was an intriguing thought. Somewhere out there, ancient crystal networks might be sleeping, waiting for the right chemical signature to wake them up. And humans, with their crude explosive technology, might be the only species still capable of speaking their language. Do-hyun watched the morning shift gather around the equipment shed. The human miners looked tired but ready for another day of work. Above them, the pale blue sun of Kepler 442b cast long shadows across the mining site. The crystalline surface of the moon sparkled like broken glass in the early light. Listen up, everyone, Do-hyun called out to his team. We have visitors coming today. The alien bosses want to see how we work. Jiwoo groaned and adjusted her tool belt. More complaints about our methods? Probably, Do-hyun said with a shrug. Just do your job like always. Let me handle the talking. The human mining operation on Kepler 442b was small compared to other sites in the galaxy. Only 50 humans worked the crystalline deposits, using what the aliens called primitive techniques. While other species used fancy laser cutters and gravity manipulators, humans relied on good old chemical explosives. Do-hyun had been defending these methods for 3 years now. Every month, alien supervisors arrived to question why humans insisted on using explosives. Every month, Do-hyun explained that it worked. Every month, they looked at him like he was crazy. The morning work began as usual. Jiwoo and her demolition team prepared charges for the day's excavation. She moved with practiced skill, measuring distances and calculating blast angles. Her team trusted her completely. In 5 years of mining, she had never caused an accident. Taemin worked nearby, mixing chemical compounds for the explosives. The young chemist took pride in his work. He could create charges that would crack crystal formations with surgical precision. His explosives never wasted material or caused unnecessary damage. Sora studied geological surveys at her workstation. The engineer mapped crystal formations deep underground. She could predict how explosions would travel through rock and crystal. Her calculations helped Jiwoo place charges in exactly the right spots. The newest team member, Bin, watched everything with curious eyes. He had arrived only 2 months ago, fresh from Earth. The young man asked endless questions about mining techniques. The veterans found his enthusiasm both amusing and refreshing. At midday, the alien delegation arrived. Their shuttle landed in a cloud of dust and crystal fragments. Do-hyun walked over to meet them, straightening his work clothes. Oversight Commander Volatile emerged from the shuttle first. The crystalline being stood nearly 3 meters tall, his body reflecting light like a living prism. Behind him came 2 other aliens, a Mordani made of living silicon, and a Keferi that looked like controlled energy in a vaguely humanoid shape. Supervisor Do-hyun, Vextal's voice sounded like wind chimes in a breeze. We have come to observe your operation once again. Welcome to Site 7, Do-hyun replied politely. We're always happy to show our work. Vextal's crystalline features shifted into what might have been disapproval. The Galactic Mining Consortium continues to receive complaints about human methods. Other species find your techniques concerning. Our safety record is perfect, Do-hyun pointed out. Our efficiency ratings are good. Our environmental impact is minimal. Yes, but your methods are so crude, the Mordani supervisor added. Its silicon body rippled as it spoke. Chemical explosions are such primitive technology. Why not use plasma resonance like civilized species? Do-hyun had heard this argument many times. Because our way works for us. We understand explosives. We use them safely. The Keferi being flickered with what looked like amusement. Understanding crude chemistry is not the same as true mining science. Watch how proper extraction should work. The aliens led Do-hyun to a nearby crystal formation. The Mordani activated a device that hummed with energy. Precise beams of light struck the crystals, causing them to dissolve at the molecular level. The process was clean, quiet, and efficient. See how elegant this is? Vextal asked. No violence, no destruction. Pure scientific precision. Very impressive, Do-hyun agreed. And it was impressive in its own way. But he noticed something the aliens missed. The crystals that remained showed stress fractures. The molecular dissolution had weakened the entire formation. Jiwoo's voice crackled over the radio. Do-hyun, we're ready for the afternoon blast. Should we wait for the inspection to finish? Go ahead, Do-hyun replied. Our guests would like to see how we work. The aliens followed him to the blast site. Jiwoo had prepared a complex series of charges in a deep crystal formation. Her team had evacuated to the safe zone, leaving only remote detonators in place. This seems unnecessarily dangerous, Vextal observed. Why create such violent destruction when gentle methods exist? Because it works, Jiwoo said simply. She had never been intimidated by alien supervisors. Watch and learn. She activated the detonation sequence. The first charges exploded in perfect timing, sending shockwaves through the crystal formation. More explosions followed, each one precisely timed to work with the previous blast. The sound was tremendous, like controlled thunder rolling through the moon's thin atmosphere. When the dust settled, the aliens stared in surprise. The crystal formation had been opened like a flower, revealing perfect geometric chambers filled with valuable ore. The explosion had followed natural crystal planes, creating extraction points that would have taken hours to achieve with other methods. How did you predict that pattern? The Mordani asked, its silicon body rippling with confusion. Experience, Sora answered from her geological station. We study the crystal structure and work with it, not against it. Explosives follow the natural weak points. Vextal examined the blast site with growing puzzlement. But the violence of the method is controlled, Do-hyun finished. We're not destroying anything randomly. We're helping the crystals break where they want to break anyway. The afternoon continued with more demonstrations. Each blast revealed new chambers of valuable ore. The aliens watched with growing confusion as the crude human methods produced excellent results. Their elegant techniques suddenly seemed less impressive by comparison. As the day ended, Vextal approached Do-hyun one more time. Your methods produce results, he admitted reluctantly. But they remain primitive. Chemical explosions are not the future of mining. Do-hyun nodded politely. Maybe not. But they're our present and they work well for us. After the aliens departed, the human team gathered for their evening meal. They ate simple food and shared stories from the day's work. Outside, the crystalline surface of the moon caught starlight and threw it back in rainbow patterns. Think they'll ever understand? Jiwoo asked, watching the alien shuttle disappear into space. Probably not, Do-hyun replied. But that's okay. We understand, and that's what matters. None of them knew that deep underground something was stirring. The day's explosions had awakened something in the crystal formations. Something that would soon change everything they thought they knew about mining. For now, though, they were content to be the galaxy's most primitive miners, using their crude explosives to do work that impressed no one but themselves. 2 weeks after the aliens left, Jiwoo made a discovery that changed everything. She had been experimenting with different timing sequences for her explosives, trying to understand how the crystals responded to various patterns. "Listen to this," she called to her team, playing back audio recordings from her latest blast. The sound was unlike anything they had heard before. Instead of the usual boom and crackle of exploding rock, this recording contained something that sounded almost musical. The explosions echoed through the crystal formation, creating harmonics and resonances that formed actual melodies. "The crystals are singing," Bin said in wonder. "They're turning our explosions into music." Tae-min studied the waveform patterns on his computer. "It's not random," he announced. "The crystals are modifying the sound waves from our explosives. They're creating harmonious frequencies." Sora cross-referenced the audio with her geological data. The crystal structure acts like a massive musical instrument. Our explosives provide the energy, and the crystals shape that energy into organized sound patterns. Do-hyun listened to the recordings with growing amazement. His team had accidentally discovered that the crystal formation was not just responding to their explosives, it was collaborating with them. Over the following days, Jiwoo began treating her demolition work like a musical composition. She timed her explosives to create rhythm and melody in the crystal responses. Each blast became a note in a larger symphony. The results were spectacular. Mining yields increased dramatically as the crystals seemed to anticipate the explosions and prepare themselves for optimal extraction. The formations opened along perfect geometric lines, revealing chambers of valuable ore with no waste material. "We're not mining anymore," Jiwoo realized. "We're conducting. The crystals want to give us their treasures, and we're helping them do it." Hyejin, the colony's communications officer, had been documenting the team's discoveries. As word spread through the mining colony, she found herself fielding questions from scientists and administrators across the galaxy. "Everyone wants to know how we're achieving these results," she reported to Do-hyun. "Our mining yields are 3 times higher than any other operation in the sector." "What are you telling them?" Do-hyun asked. "The truth," Hyejin replied. "That we've learned to work with the crystals instead of just extracting from them." But I don't think they believe me. The truth was almost too strange to believe. The human miners had discovered that their crude explosives could communicate with crystal formations in ways that no advanced alien technology could match. By treating mining as a collaborative art form instead of simple extraction, they had achieved results that seemed impossible. Other mining operations began requesting human teams. Species that had previously dismissed human techniques now wanted to learn their methods. But when alien miners tried to copy the human approach, they failed completely. "They're missing something essential," Tae-min observed after watching a failed Mordani attempt to replicate their success. "They understand the explosives, but they don't understand the music." The failed attempts revealed an important truth. The crystals didn't just respond to any explosives. They responded to human explosives used with human timing and human intuition. There was something uniquely human about the way Jiwoo and her team approached their work. Bin spent hours listening to the crystal songs, trying to understand their patterns. "I think the crystals are trying to teach us something," he told the team. "Each blast creates a response that's more complex than the last." He was right. The crystal formation was learning from each explosion, becoming more sophisticated in its responses. What had started as simple harmonic frequencies had evolved into complex musical compositions that seemed to carry meaning. Sora made another breakthrough. When she realized the crystal growth patterns matched the musical patterns. "The crystals aren't just making music," she announced. "They're using the music to organize their own structure. Our explosions are helping them grow in more efficient ways." The implications were staggering. The crystal formation was using human explosives not just for mining, but for its own evolution. Each blast helped it reorganize itself into more perfect geometric forms. Volatile returned with a larger alien delegation, including representatives from the Galactic Mining Consortium's board of directors. They came expecting to find the humans using dangerous techniques that violated safety regulations. Instead, they found the most efficient and productive mining operation they had ever seen. How is this possible? The consortium director asked. Her species, the Velkari, were known for their analytical minds and precise calculations. Our computer models show that your methods should not work. Maybe your models are incomplete, Do-hyun suggested diplomatically. Maybe there are aspects of crystal mining that your species haven't considered. The aliens spent 3 days studying the human operation. They recorded every blast, analyzed every crystal response, and measured every mining yield. Their instruments confirmed what seemed impossible. Crude chemical explosives were outperforming the most advanced mining technology in the galaxy. There must be some factor we're not detecting, Volatile insisted. Some hidden technology or technique that you're not revealing. There's no hidden technology, Jiwoo replied. We use basic explosives and careful timing. The rest is up to the crystals. To prove her point, she demonstrated her latest technique. Using a complex sequence of timed explosions, she conducted what could only be described as a symphony. The crystal formation responded with a harmony so beautiful that several aliens recorded it for future study. When the dust settled, the blast had opened a crystal chamber larger and more perfect than any previously discovered. The formation had essentially redesigned itself to provide optimal access to its most valuable materials. The crystals are partners in this process, Hyejin explained to the alien delegation. They want to be mined, but only by those who understand how to work with them musically. The Velkari director studied the blast site with instruments that could analyze matter at the quantum level. According to our readings, the crystal structure has become more organized after the explosion, not less. This violates fundamental principles of thermodynamics. Unless the crystals are adding their own energy to the process, Taemin suggested. What if they're not just responding to our explosives but amplifying them? Further testing confirmed this theory. The crystal formation was indeed adding energy to the explosive blasts, using some internal power source that alien science couldn't identify. The explosions were more powerful than they should have been, yet perfectly controlled and directed. As the alien delegation prepared to leave, they faced an uncomfortable realization. The galaxy's most primitive mining techniques had achieved results that their advanced technology could not match. Somewhere in their rush to evolve beyond crude methods, they had left behind something important. We will need to study this phenomenon extensively, the consortium director announced. This discovery could revolutionize mining operations throughout the galaxy. After the aliens departed, the human team continued their work with growing confidence. They had proven that their methods were not just effective but superior to anything else in the galaxy. Do you think other human mining operations have discovered this? Zora asked during their evening meal. Probably not, Do-hyun replied. We were just lucky to find a crystal formation that could respond to our techniques. But if one formation can do this, maybe others can too. Yejin had been thinking along the same lines. I've been contacting other human mining sites, she said. I want to share our discoveries and see if anyone else has experienced similar phenomena. The responses were intriguing. Several human mining operations reported unusual crystal behaviors that they had attributed to equipment malfunctions or measurement errors. When Hyejin described the Kepler 442b discoveries, they began to reconsider their own experiences. We might not be alone in this, she reported. There could be crystal formations throughout human mining sites that are trying to communicate with us. We just haven't been listening properly. The idea that crystals across the galaxy might be waiting for the right kind of explosive conversation was both exciting and sobering. Humanity's supposedly primitive mining methods might be the key to unlocking resources and knowledge that advanced civilizations had been ignoring for centuries. As night fell over the mining colony, the team could hear faint musical tones echoing from the crystal formations underground. The crystals were still singing, still learning, still growing in response to the day's explosions. They had discovered something wonderful, and they were only beginning to understand what it meant. The message from the Hegemony Council arrived on a Tuesday morning that would change the course of galactic history. Do-hyun read it twice before calling his team together. "The council is coming here," he announced to the gathered miners. "Not just observers or scientists. The actual ruling council of the galaxy wants to see our operation." Jiwoo looked up from her equipment maintenance. "The beings who make laws for entire star systems want to watch us blow things up?" "Apparently," Do-hyun replied. "The message says they're concerned about dangerous mining practices that violate established safety protocols." Sora frowned at her geological readings. "They want to shut us down." "Maybe," Do-hyun admitted. "Or maybe they want to understand what we're doing. Either way, we need to be ready to explain ourselves." The council's arrival 3 days later was unlike anything the small mining colony had ever experienced. 5 massive ships appeared in orbit, each one larger than most space stations. The beings who emerged were the most powerful individuals in the galaxy. Counselor Thexmari led the delegation. The being of pure thought existed as organized energy within a containment field, communicating through direct mental contact. Beside her stood representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, including species that had mastered technology beyond human imagination. "We have come to investigate reports of primitive and dangerous mining techniques." Thexmari's thoughts reached everyone present simultaneously. "Your methods pose potential risks to galactic safety standards." Do-hyun stepped forward carefully. He had never spoken to beings of such immense power and intelligence. "Counselor, our safety record is perfect. We've had no accidents or injuries in 5 years of operation." "Safety is not merely the absence of accidents," replied Counselor Nexthal, a crystalline being even more advanced than Vextal. "It is the elimination of dangerous methodologies before accidents can occur." The inspection began immediately. The council members used scanning technology so advanced that it could analyze matter at the subatomic level. They examined every piece of human equipment with instruments that could predict equipment failure weeks in advance. What they found contradicted every assumption they had made about human mining operations. "Your explosive compounds are precisely calibrated," observed Counselor Zarvel, "a machine intelligence housed in a robotic body. The chemical mixtures show mathematical relationships that suggest advanced computational design." Taemin stepped forward nervously. "Actually, sir, I developed those formulas through trial and error. I just kept adjusting the mixtures until they worked better." "Impossible," Zarvel replied. "These calculations would require quantum-level computational analysis. No organic intelligence could achieve such precision without technological assistance." "But I did," Taemin insisted. "I listened to how the crystals responded and adjusted the chemistry accordingly." The council members exchanged looks of confusion. Advanced civilizations relied on computer modeling and theoretical analysis to develop new technologies. The idea that a human could achieve superior results through intuition and experimentation challenged their understanding of how scientific progress worked. Counselor Thexmari directed her attention to Jiwoo. "Demonstrate your techniques. We wish to understand how you achieve reported yields that exceed theoretical maximums." Jiwoo led the council to her prepared blast site. She had planned a complex sequence that would showcase the full capabilities of human crystal collaboration. As she explained her timing calculations, the council members realized something disturbing. "You are not following any established mining protocols," Counselor Nexthal observed. "Your methods are based on unverified assumptions about crystal behavior." "They're not assumptions," Jiwoo replied. "They're observations. The crystals tell us what they want. Crystals do not want anything." Thexmari's thoughts carried a tone of condescension. "They are inanimate mineral formations. They follow physical laws, not desires." Bin raised his hand tentatively. "Counselor, can I ask something? When did your species last use explosive mining techniques?" The question hung in the air like an uncomfortable truth. One by one, the council members admitted that their civilizations had abandoned explosive technology thousands or even millions of years ago. Such methods were deemed primitive and unnecessary, Counselor Velthan explained. Her species had transcended physical form entirely, existing as patterns of organized information. Advanced civilizations develop more elegant solutions. But what if elegant isn't always better? Bin asked innocently. What if sometimes the best solution is the one that seems simple? The council members had no answer for this. Their entire understanding of progress was based on the assumption that more advanced meant better. The idea that primitive techniques might be superior was almost unthinkable. Jiwoo activated her blast sequence. The explosions rolled through the crystal formation in perfect timing, creating harmonics that made the very ground sing. The council watched in amazement as the crystals responded with enthusiasm, opening chambers of valuable ore, while reorganizing their internal structure for even better efficiency. When the dust settled, Councillor Zarvel ran detailed scans of the blast site. The energy output exceeded the input by a factor of 3, he announced with disbelief in his mechanical voice. The crystals added their own power to the explosion. How is this possible? Thexmari demanded. Sora stepped forward with her geological data. The crystals have been learning from our explosions for months. They've reorganized themselves to work with our techniques. They want to participate in the mining process. The council spent hours analyzing the results. Their advanced instruments confirmed everything the humans claimed, but the implications were staggering. If primitive explosives could achieve results that advanced technology could not, then perhaps the path of galactic civilization had taken a wrong turn somewhere. Councillor Nexthul examined the crystal formation with instruments that could peer into alternate dimensions. These crystals show signs of organized intelligence, he admitted reluctantly. They are processing information and making decisions. They're alive, Yejin said simply. Not in the way we usually think of life, but they're aware and responsive. Our explosives don't just break them apart, they wake them up. The implications rippled through the council's understanding. If crystal formations could be intelligent, then mining wasn't just extraction. It was potentially communication with alien life forms. And humans with their crude explosives had developed the only known method of successful communication. Why do they respond only to human techniques? Councillor Velthan asked. Tae Min had been thinking about this question for weeks. Maybe because we still use explosives regularly. Our techniques have evolved alongside human warfare and construction. We understand controlled destruction in ways that other species have forgotten. The council members were forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. In their rush to transcend primitive technology, they might have abandoned something valuable. Their elegant, advanced methods could not achieve what human explosives accomplished. We must study this phenomenon, Thexmari decided. If crystal intelligence is widespread, it could change everything we know about galactic mineralogy. Over the following days, the council tested their own advanced techniques on the crystal formation. Laser cutting, molecular dissolution, gravity manipulation, every method they tried produced inferior results compared to human explosives. Worse, the crystals seemed to become less responsive when exposed to alien technology. The formation that sang with joy during human blasts fell silent under alien methods. The crystals don't like your techniques, Bin observed after watching a particularly failed alien attempt. They prefer our explosions. But why? Councillor Zarvel asked in frustration. Maybe because explosions are honest, Jiwoo suggested. There's no pretense in an explosion. It's pure energy release. The crystals can work with that. The council faced a crisis of understanding. Their entire civilization was built on the premise that advancement meant moving beyond crude methods like explosives. But here was proof that sometimes crude methods worked better than advanced ones. Councillor Thexmari made an announcement that shocked everyone present. The Hegemony Council will establish a permanent research station here. We must understand how human techniques achieve these impossible results. Are we in trouble? Do-hyun asked carefully. On the contrary, Thexmari replied. You may have discovered something that will revolutionize galactic civilization. Your mining operation will receive full council support and protection. As the council ships prepared to depart, leaving behind a research team and advanced equipment, the human miners found themselves in a strange position. They had gone from being considered the galaxy's worst miners to being the focus of the most important scientific research in centuries. Do you think they'll figure out what we're doing? Sora asked. Eventually, Do-hyun replied. But I think they'll have to change their whole way of thinking first. The crystals continued to sing in the depths below, waiting for the next explosive conversation with their human partners. The crisis began 6 months after the council's visit, when deep scanning revealed a massive crystal formation beneath the entire mining colony. This formation was different from anything they had encountered before. It was unstable, growing rapidly, and contained enough energy to shatter the moon if it exploded uncontrolled. How long do we have? Do-hyun asked Sora as she studied the readings. Maybe days, maybe hours, she replied grimly. The formation is growing exponentially. When it reaches critical mass, the entire moon will become a bomb. The alien evacuation ships arrived within hours of the emergency alert. The Council's research team packed their equipment with desperate efficiency, while transport vessels prepared to carry everyone to safety. All personnel must evacuate immediately. Counselor Thexmari's thoughts reached the human team with unusual urgency. This formation cannot be stabilized with known technology. But Jiwoo was studying her own readings, and she saw something the aliens missed. The crystals aren't trying to explode, she announced. They're trying to transform. Look at these patterns. She displayed her analysis on the main screen. The chaotic energy readings showed underlying rhythms and harmonies that matched the patterns from their previous mining operations. The big formation is trying to do what the smaller ones did. Taemin realized. It wants to work with us, but it's too large and powerful to control itself. Sora cross-referenced the data with her geological maps. If this formation explodes naturally, it will destroy everything within 100 light-years. But if we can help it transform correctly, it could become the most productive mining site in galactic history. Bin finished excitedly. The aliens were loading the last of their equipment when Do-hyun made an announcement that shocked everyone. My team is staying. We think we can stabilize the formation. Impossible, Counselor Zarvel declared. Our most advanced technology cannot control energy levels of this magnitude. Your primitive explosives will only make the situation worse. Maybe, Do-hyun admitted, but maybe they'll make it better. The crystals have been learning from us for months. They trust our methods. Heejin stepped forward. I've been in contact with human mining teams across the galaxy. Similar formations are appearing at other sites. If we can't solve this here, the problem will spread to other worlds. The implications were staggering. Crystal formations throughout human mining operations were beginning to transform simultaneously. It was as if the entire galactic crystal network was waking up at once, triggered by months of explosive communication. You will all die, Thexmari stated bluntly, and your deaths will accomplish nothing except adding more energy to an already unstable system. Maybe, Jiwoo said. But we're going to try anyway. The crystals have been teaching us, and now it's time to see if we learned the lessons correctly. The evacuation ships departed, carrying the alien research teams to safety. Only the human mining crew remained on the moon's surface, standing above a crystal formation that contained more energy than most stars. Jiwoo had spent days planning the most complex, explosive sequence of her career. Instead of trying to control the crystal formation, she planned to help it control itself. Her charges would provide rhythmic guidance, helping the massive formation find stable patterns for its energy release. This is either the most brilliant plan in mining history, Taemin observed as he prepared the final charges, or the most elaborate suicide in galactic records. Probably both, Sora agreed grimly. The detonation sequence began at dawn. Jiwoo triggered the first series of charges, sending controlled shockwaves deep into the crystal formation. The response was immediate and terrifying. The entire moon shook as massive energy surges raced through underground crystal networks. But instead of chaos, patterns began to emerge. The crystal formation responded to each explosion with harmonious energy releases of its own. The random destruction that the aliens feared became organized transformation, as the crystals learned to channel their power constructively. It's working, Bin reported from his monitoring station. The formation is stabilizing. Energy output is dropping to manageable levels. The process continued for hours. Each explosion guided the crystal formation through another stage of its transformation. What had been a chaotic mass of unstable energy gradually became an organized network of stable crystal structures. Jiwoo conducted her explosive symphony with growing confidence. The crystals responded to her timing with enthusiasm, adding their own energy to create harmonics that resonated through the moon's entire structure. They were not just stabilizing, they were evolving. When the final charges detonated, the transformation was complete. Deep beneath the moon's surface, the massive crystal formation had reorganized itself into perfect geometric patterns that pulsed with controlled energy. Instead of a bomb, it had become the galaxy's most sophisticated power source. The readings were impossible to believe. The crystal formation was producing more energy than it consumed, creating a self-sustaining reaction that could power entire star systems. More importantly, it was stable and responsive to human control. We did it, Sora announced in amazement. We actually did it. The evacuation ships returned cautiously, their sensors confirming what seemed impossible. The humans had not only prevented a galactic disaster, they had created a revolution in power generation technology. Counselor Thexmari's first communication was filled with confusion and admiration. "How did you know this would work?" "We listened to the crystals," Do-hyun replied simply. "They told us what they needed." The aftermath brought changes that rippled throughout galactic civilization. Reports flooded in from human mining sites across the galaxy, where similar transformations were occurring. Crystal formations that had been dormant for millennia were waking up, responding to human explosives with enthusiasm and cooperation. "It's happening everywhere," Heejin reported. "Every human mining operation is discovering crystal intelligence. We've been waking up an entire galactic network without realizing it." The implications were staggering. The galaxy contained vast networks of intelligent crystal formations that had been waiting for the right kind of communication. Human explosives, dismissed as primitive by advanced civilizations, turned out to be the key to unlocking this ancient intelligence. Within a year, human mining techniques were revolutionizing energy production throughout the galaxy. The crystal networks, once awakened, proved eager to work with their human partners. Mining yields increased exponentially while power generation reached levels previously thought impossible. The Hegemony Council faced an uncomfortable reckoning. Their assumption that advancement meant abandoning primitive methods had blinded them to one of the galaxy's greatest resources. Species that had evolved beyond explosive technology found themselves asking humans to teach them forgotten techniques. "Your application for council membership has been reconsidered," Thexmari informed Do-hyun during an official ceremony. "Humanity's contribution to galactic civilization far exceeds previous estimates." "We just listened to the crystals and gave them what they wanted," Do-hyun replied modestly, "which no other species thought to do," the counselor observed. "Sometimes the most sophisticated approach is knowing when to use simple methods." Taemin was appointed head of the new Galactic Institute for Crystal Communication, where he taught other species the principles of explosive chemistry that had been forgotten for millennia. Sora became the director of crystal geology, mapping intelligent formations throughout the galaxy. Jiwoo founded the Academy of Applied Demolition, where the art of explosive timing was studied as both science and music. Bin, still the youngest member of the original team, made perhaps the most important discovery of all. He found that crystal formations on different worlds had developed different musical preferences, requiring unique explosive signatures to achieve optimal communication. "Each world sings its own song," he explained to a gathering of galactic scientists. "We need to learn to speak their individual languages." Hyejin documented everything, creating a comprehensive record of humanity's accidental revolution in galactic technology. Her reports became required reading in universities throughout known space, teaching the fundamental lesson that advancement and sophistication were not always the same thing. Years later, as Do-hyun watched new human mining teams learning crystal communication techniques, he reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had gone from being the galaxy's most primitive miners to being the most essential partners in galactic energy production. The crystals still sang in the depths below, but now their songs were heard throughout the galaxy, and humans, with their crude explosives and simple timing, had become the conductors of a cosmic orchestra that spanned thousands of worlds. The lesson was simple but profound. Sometimes the most elegant solution was knowing exactly when, where, and how hard to make things go boom. And sometimes the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy needed to learn from those they had dismissed as primitive. The age of crystal communication had begun, and humanity had taught the galaxy how to speak with explosions.